Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. This is my team progression into round 6. Ben has just done his, and so I thought I'd take you through mine, what happened this week, what trades I'm looking at making, and just a little bit of an overall look at the teams in general, and particularly my team. So getting straight into it, guys, had a pretty poor week to begin with. Unfortunately, I was actually on a tear. I had 2 really, really good weeks in a row, and now out of nowhere, it's all capitulated. I pretty much copped all the major bullets this week, and so my score was 2,147, which made a round rank of 32,000. So a bit of a massive drop off. And it's actually propelled my rank down to 749. So still in the top 1,000, which is good. But of course, not ideal. Now, getting into how that happened. Now, it was just a strange week for Supercoach in general. But in terms of underperforming premiums, not too happy with Lloyd. Obviously, you pay up for someone like a Lloyd. He scrapes together 100, and he's not going bad. He's just not really having those huge scores that we know he can produce. Part of that is a little bit role based as well, with Dawson back there and also Braden Campbell. But I'm hoping that with Rampy out for a few weeks, hopefully that means that Dawson has to play a little bit more accountable and free up a little bit more Jake Lloyd. We'll see how that works. Obviously, I have Ridley, so that was the big one for the week. I'm glad that he was actually scaled up to 31. But that did hurt when he went down. I was actually at the game, and I was like, "Where's Ridley? Where's Ridley? Where's Ridley? Where's Ridley?" And it was a wet game, and he would have towed up. But unfortunately, such is life. You roll with the punches. It looks like that's going to be a concussion. I'll go through that in the main pod, but I'll probably end up holding Ridley. It's a fairly easy hold if it's just the 1 week. Jaden Short also had that bullet. Now, unfortunately, Richmond dominated so much that the ball just wasn't down there. So that 74 is not really representative of anything, in my opinion. There was not one single defender for Richmond that actually got over 80, which is unusual for them. Even though Hooley took a couple of kickouts as well, that was while Jaden Short was off the field. So they only had 6 kickouts for the game, and unfortunately 2 of those were while Short was off. So can't really do much about that. Also have Houston. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. We'll obviously wait and see what will happen. He's listed as a test for now with a shoulder injury. Really hoping that doesn't get up. That does get up. And then, of course, Doherty, he was also hit in that first quarter and went off for about 15, 20 minutes. So that 98 was actually a really solid score considering, and he was on fire. But, obviously hit that bullet. I did trade in Chapman last week, obviously, so I had his score on field. And then I did have the VC on McRae. Now, unfortunately, with all of the commotion and me getting to the football, by the time that I found out what McRae scored, I was trying to update and refresh fan footy, and it kept saying he was 118, and there was no scaling that going through, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to have that, and I'll walk into the stadium and I'll take a seat. And I went back and I rechecked about maybe 30 seconds before the bounce at the ground, and he'd gone up to 146. So I'm scrambling to try and get a loophole in there to change out one of the Brisbane players, because obviously I have Sharp and Fullerton, so I could have looped either of those guys onto the field and taken the captain score, and I just missed it. So I wasn't able to actually get that. So then I was sweating on the on Jordan Clark, obviously, and then he's named as the sub. So before that, it was actually announced, I found out that he was obviously held over from the VFL game, so he didn't actually play. And I thought it was very likely that he would be a sub. So I just rode the Gorn train, and luckily that came home. So if that didn't come home, it would have been another 31 points below, and I would have just scraped into 2,100. Obviously happy with Walsh. I hit the Titch bullet as well. He can rack up the pill, but his Supercoach scoring at the moment is just shocking. Laird seems to be a little bit of a miss. He keeps getting knocks here and there and going off the field, really annoying. Taranto, again, racking up the pill. Between Taranto and Titch, 1 week I'm going to have, between them I'll score 300 plus, but right now it's not happening. And then, of course, Golden still going all right. Powell, obviously, still going all right. And then I had to have Berry on the field because Jordan Clark was not available, so that really hurt me. I also couldn't loop Scott because I didn't know at the time. I didn't have the information that Clark was going to be unavailable. So I had initially planned to emergency Berry and play Clark. Then when Clark was announced was after the Dogs game, so I couldn't even I didn't even emergency Scott. So I couldn't even take that as a loophole option. So there's another 30 points that just went begging. Oh, it was a rough week. Fullerton gets dropped. Now, hopefully moving forward, I can try and loop these guys, the Rowe, Waterman, and Fullerton connection. Again, Waterman, 27, went to the game. Ball was barely in the Essendon forward line at all for the entire match. They got absolutely smashed. So not really much he's going to be able to do in that sort of situation. I did mention in the previous pods that he's obviously scoring goals and he's scoring well because of that. And when that dries up, such as it did last week, he's going to drop a 20 score, and that's exactly what happened. Outside of that, forward line's looking okay. Campbell, I'm really a little bit worried about just because there's been obviously the talk in the media saying that, they might want to rest some of these young kids. But hopefully he gets another run. If not, might be in a little bit of trouble. Obviously, I can trade him directly with Scott, so it's not the worst situation in the world. But yeah, he might be someone that I might be able to start loopholing him instead of loopholing, say, a Rowe. We'll see. I think there's still a huge score in him, and I don't want to trade him out if I can avoid it. So we'll see how that goes. Warner had an off night, but he's still got the role, so he'll still go there. Now, what I'm looking for this week, so as I mentioned in the podcast last week, it was a pretty simple method for me. So I traded out James Jordan for Waterman. Now, unfortunately, obviously Jordan played quite well, which was another bullet to my trade. But again, I didn't have the information at the time to trade out Clark. Had I have done that, I would have gone Clark to Waterman. It's a bit of those the late announcements are not helping, definitely. But I do still think that regardless, I mean, he might even be, if Harms comes back this week, this could be Jordan's last week. Also, last week could be his last week, and he could be out this week. He could also be out next week. So his job security now with Harms coming back into that team is a little bit questionable, and there was an article about that either today or yesterday. So just keep an eye out on that. Harms coming in, I think, does definitely impact Jordan. So I think he's going to be the one to go. So looking this week, the trades are pretty simple for me. So I now have the cash to be able to bring in a premium. Unfortunately, because again, Clark didn't play, I miss out on Clary by 6K, which is just like the biggest kick in the teeth. And I'm kind of left a little bit worse for wears. I mentioned in the pod I really want three. There's only really three midfielders that I want in my team right now, and that's Clary, Steele, and of course Neil. Now Neil goes out and gets a 157. Do I think he's back? If I could avoid trading Neil in this week, I would, but because I do think he probably gets tagged by Ed Kernow. I just don't think I have another option realistically in my team, and I'll go through a couple of those. So right now, these are my trades that I'm going to be going through, and it's a pretty simple one. So I'm going to get in Lockie Jones. Obviously, with his score, he's pretty much bang on, going to be a great rookie for us. Oh, hello, Benjamin. Comes in with the beard. Look at this guy. I've got service with a smile. Hello, Benjamin. Cheers, mate. Excellent. Oh, that is good beer. Excellent. Now, that gives me 268. Now, really, there's a couple of trade out options. The one that I'm probably going to pull the trigger on a little bit, it's going to be early, and it's going to be a little bit of a negative. It could be a negative pod or it could be a positive. It's going to depend on the next couple of weeks. At the moment, I'm actually leaning towards trading out Golden. Now, the reason is obviously cash-based. It's also break-even. Don't get me wrong, he can definitely bang out a score, and this could backfire on me. But I feel like if I'm going into a matchup or on any given week for the next couple of weeks, I would 100% rather have a Neil or a Clary or a Steele rather than be playing a Golden. So that's why. Now, my other option is if I wanted to get in someone like a Brayshaw. Now, that does weaken my potential long-term midfield. However, that means that I could essentially get out a Campbell instead, or I can't quite get a Berry with that trade. The other one that I was thinking of was Dusty in the forward line, but again, I can't do that with Campbell. I'm actually about 10k short to do that. So realistically, if I want the team that I want, Golden, unfortunately, is the one that has to go this week for me to make it happen. So I'm just going to take the punt, and I'll be a very few people that actually do this. And unfortunately, that means that I'll be trading in Neil this week instead of Clary. And hopefully I can get Clary in the next few weeks, and that is my next plan. It does mean that I'm now only running the two rookies on field in midfield, and they'll be looking to shore up the forward line and mid moving forward. And that is going to be how I'm going to be playing this week. Now, in terms of, let me just cancel that. In terms of VCNC, I think the Gawn Grundy this week is going to be very, very powerful. I'm just going to pull up. Also, obviously, McRae is just going absolutely gangbusters. And he's obviously playing Friday night, so that's an option on the Friday night. But I do like the old Gawn into Grundy, and so Gawn plays Nankervis on the Saturday night, and of course Grundy plays Peter Wright on Sunday. I'm leaning more towards that than going with the doggy with McRae option. The only reason is there's so many dogs that are scoring so well, but they really are quite capped. I feel like anywhere between 120 to, say, 145 is where you can get it. But those bigger scores, Gawn's still pumping those out, and so is Grundy. So I don't think I'm going to lose much by missing that VC on the Friday night, but the gain is potentially a lot when you got someone like a Gawn up against a Nank, or a Grundy up against a Peter Wright. So I think that I'm probably going to lean towards that and go VC Gawn, Captain Grundy. And that is how my team's going to be rolling out this week. So thanks, guys, and I'll catch you next time. And catch also Ben's podcast that he would have obviously uploaded as well. And I'll see you next time on YouTube. Catch you guys.